So in this video, we're going to see how to do confidence intervals. So what we have here is a data set that contains 500 observations of the number of events each day in Toronto, whether it was success or failure, where success is defined as more than one event per day. So that would be 2 or more. If it's a success, we give it a value 1, failure value 0. Similarly, in Calgary, we have the number of events each day over these 500 observations, whether it was success or failure, where success once again is defined as more than one event per day. Notice that on average in sample, the number of events per day in Toronto is 1.374, whereas in Calgary is 0.114. What proportion of events in Toronto resulted in a success? The answer is 0.428 in the sample, and in Calgary is 0.032. Let's now start by doing confidence intervals for the sample mean. So I'll just do it for Toronto. So the way you do this is you go to statistical inference, do confidence intervals, and now let's do it for mean standard deviations. Over here, uncheck the box for number of events in Calgary. So what you want is the confidence intervals for the true average of number of events in Toronto. So that's the reason why that box is checked. Make sure for the mean is checked. Standard deviation, of course, unchecked. Confidence level, of course, is, well, you can choose any of these things. We'll choose 95. Say OK, and here's the answer. There are 500 observations in the sample. Sample mean is 1.374. The sample standard deviation is 1.184. If you want to build a 95% confidence interval, the degrees of freedom would then be 499, and the lower limit of the confidence interval is 1.27. The upper limit is 1.478, which means with 95% confidence, we are sure that the true Toronto mean is between 1.27 and 1.478. In plain English, the true number of events per day in Toronto with 95% confidence is between 1.27 and 1.478. We now see how to do proportions. If you want to build 95% confidence into proportions, we confidence interval proportions. And now the question is, once again, we want to build a 95% confidence for the successes in Toronto, so that's the reason it's checked. You can choose when these categories means, are you building confidence interval for failures or successes? So I choose 1 because I wouldn't do it for successes. Confidence level 95%. Click, and now you see the following result. If you're asking for the confidence intervals of successes, that's where the category is 1. There were 500 observations. In the sample, the proportion of successes is 4.428. With 95% confidence, we can say that the true proportion of successes in Toronto is between 38.5% and 47.1%.